All right, we're going to continue to explore some of the things we can do with the trash module in Trash 2. What we've seen so far is that we can have a wave shaping distortion with Trash 2, and we can make our own wave shaping curves, and it can be symmetrical, where we have the same shape for the positive values as the negative values of the input signal, or we can have asymmetrical distortion and have different curves for positive and negative, or we can start with some kind of pre-made curve and then modify it from there. So already we have lots of options to explore. But we can go a little further now because in addition, in the trash module, you can put it in multiband mode, and now you can have multiband distortion. So the idea here is you can have up to 4 bands across the frequency spectrum divided up by these crossover points. And you can apply different kinds of distortion to different bands in the frequency spectrum. If you right-click anywhere in here, you get some options for how you manage these bands. You can copy the settings to a different band, or copy the settings to all bands, or whatever you want to do. You can remove a band, you can add a band, and so forth. So I'm going to start with this drum beat here, and it sounds like this by itself. And I can do a number of things here. What I'm going to try is just adding a little bit of distortion to the upper mid-range. So I want to make sure I'm clicked on the correct band here, and this will always help me see that I have band 3 selected here, and I can solo this band if I want to. And then I can change the crossover points. And then I can add a bit of distortion. So here, for example, I'll just go with symmetrical distortion, and I'll just go ahead and add a bit of gentle, soft clipping in here. This is that band. I can bypass what's happening. Just adding a gentle amount of crunch to it, and I can actually add another point here and add a little more. Bypass it. And in context, I'm going to unsolo it here. And then I can say, well, I like it, but I'm going to change the area of the frequencies that this band covers to get out of that 1K area. And I like that. It's a little loud compared to the other frequencies now, so I can turn down the gain just for this one band. But here's where I was. It's got a bit more bite to it. Then I can say, well, all right, so that's band 3, but I can also go down to band 1 and maybe add a little teeth to the kick as well. So I'm going to, again, solo it and see what it sounds like. And so for this band here, I'm going to say, all right, well, let's go ahead and also add a bit of wave shaping here, and I could go into bipolar mode if I thought it would be interesting to have different shapes for the positive versus the negative values. A little loud, so I'm going to pull it down a little bit, and I might blend it so that it's blending with the original sounds for those frequencies. In context, I unsoloed this band. So here's where I was. It's got a lot more punch to it in the kick and a lot more snap in the snare. So I've added a bit of attitude to it, but I'm in control of where and how I'm adding that distortion. Let's try it on something else. This is a bass part here, just a simple electric bass line. And I'm going to go ahead and just reset these back to where they want to be. Clear all, and I'm just resetting these. So right now, this is the bass. I decided I want to add a little bit of extra bite in the mid-range of the bass here. So I don't even need 4 bands. I might take away one of the bands. And I'm really just going to focus on the mid-range where the bass really likes to speak here. So maybe something like this. And again, I can solo this band. I want to make sure I'm working with the correct band here. I clicked here to select it, and I have it soloed. So I'll turn on trash here. And now we have just that mid-range there. And I'm going to go ahead with maybe asymmetrical distortion just to see what kinds of things I can come up with here. And I can add a bit of a crunch here, and then maybe something a little softer for the positive values, but maybe kind of help that curve a little bit. Got some dirtiness to it and that sort of thing. And of course I could filter it a little bit if I wanted to, if it's a little too fuzzy. And then I could say, well, I can blend it in with the original, so I'm just adding a bit of fur, just a little bit of teeth to the mid-range here. And in context. This is where I was, bypassed. And now with this extra distortion. I'm just adding a little bit of kind of inner bite in that mid-range area, so the bass has just a little more attitude to it. I could try this on some sound design elements as well. For example, here I have a sound design element of just somebody dropping some wood, bypass the plugin, sounds like this. And I could use this for a more abstract kind of sound design element if I wanted to, where it doesn't have to just sound like somebody dropping some wood. So I could say, well, I want to add some upper mid-range crunch to it. So I can set up a band here that's just focused on the upper mid-range. Turn on the plugin again. Maybe this is what I just want to add some distortion to. And here I might go with asymmetrical distortion, and I might even try something radical. Just kind of see what this does here. And I might, something like this. Here's just soloing this band. So it's got much more crunchiness to it. I might even push this just a little more here. And again, in context, I unsoloed this band. So with all the bands, it's a little overdone. So I can turn down this band a little bit. And I can even change the balance. So it's a blend of the original and the distortion. But it's just got a little more bite to it. Here's the original. A little dull sounding. And in here, got a little more bite to it. Just a little more crunchiness in it. And I can play with it from here. I can expand this band a little more so it covers more frequencies. And whatever I want to do. I could even start to have very different and radical distortions for each of these bands and turn this into a completely different kind of sound. So this is the idea with multiband distortion, is that you have a lot of possibilities for really focusing where and how you add some distortion to your sounds.